name again? Eileen. Okay.
Not that long ago, we worried what we looked like before we got beers. Where we'd go to get those beers, who would be there drinking those beers. Didn't so-and-so date so-and-so? You think they'll be okay drinking beers with so-and-so? Not that long ago, drinking beers seemed almost complicated. These days, it actually feels more like it used to. If you're getting beers, call a few close friends for the original light beer, Miller Lite, available for delivery. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories, 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Does your deodorant keep you fresh all day, morning, tonight?
Ours does.
Dove Men Plus Care deodorant with 48-hour freshness and triple action moisturizers keeps men, including you, fresh all day. Dove Men Plus Care deodorant. Tough on odor, not on skin.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can remind you to please turn off your cell phone for the service.
Mizmor leDavid, Adonai, roi lo echsar, bino tedesh yarbitseini, alamei menuchot yenahaleini, nafshi yeshovev, yanecheini b'magle tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo yerara, ki ata imadi, shivetecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Taharoch lefanai shulchan, neged sorerai, dishaneta bashemen roshi, kosi revaya, ach tove vachesed, yiredefuni, kol yemei chayai, V'shaveti beveit Adonai, liorech yamim. That was Psalm 23 in the original Hebrew. Let us offer the words together in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me besides the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Our God and God of our ancestors, our rock and our redeemer, 1,000 years in your sight are as a passing day, an hour of night. Our generations come and go, while you endure forever. We are always in your hand, O Lord, in death as in life, trusting in your love and in your judgments. O Lord in heaven, strengthen those who mourn the loss of Irwin Hoffman. Help them to look beyond this moment, to realize that death can never destroy the bonds of everlasting love. Sustain them with the knowledge of our faith that you do not abandon souls to the grave, that you never allow your faithful to suffer oblivion. You, O Lord, have taught us the way of life, and through you we gain eternity. And let us all say, Amen. On the Hebrew calendar, today is the first day of a new Hebrew month. The month is called Cheshvan. The month is often referred to as Mar Cheshvan. Mar from the same word as maror on the Passover Seder, which means bitter. The month is considered a bitter month because after a month filled with holidays and holy days, fasting and feasting, this month has no Jewish holidays in it whatsoever. Well, I think for Irwin Hoffman's lovely family, I think this month is a little bitter perhaps for a different reason. After a long and steady decline, Irwin Hoffman of blessed memory is no longer with us. And our task today is to remember him and to try to put into context a life that was well lived by a person who loved his life. Lo amut ki echiyeh. It's a quotation from Psalms. We said it this morning in part of our morning service that is said on holidays and on the first day of a new month. And the words mean, I shall not die, but live. Irwin didn't want to die. Very few people do. He really wanted to live. And as all of us know, he did love life. He lived his life. He lived it well, and he lived it right. His entire life could be seen as a celebration. And now that he has passed, there is bitterness and sadness because our lives, and certainly the lives of the family he loved so dearly, will have one less holiday to celebrate in it. All one needed to do was mention Irwin Hoffman's name in any gathering of Denver citizens, and 99% of them would nod in recognition. It seemed like everyone knew Irwin. But even more, not only did everyone know him, it seemed that everyone liked him too. Irwin was truly a larger-than-life personality, blessed with a natural magnetism that drew people to him. He excelled in so many areas, almost like a Renaissance man. It seemed like there was nothing he could not do, nothing he could not get done. I left my tennis racket at home. I was going to bring it because that's how I knew Irwin. Most people know Irwin in two primary ways. Either as one of his math or physics students for the many years he taught at GW High School, or as the tennis guru who presided over the tennis program at Green Gables for many years. His accomplishments in both of these areas were prodigious and indeed the stuff of legend. He was not only a talented math and physics teacher, he had a PhD. He was a meteorologist, commonly known as a weatherman. And early on, he saw the potential for newfangled devices called personal computers. And he advocated for their use in schools and elsewhere. He taught classes in coding, in Fortran, first on a non-credit study hall basis, and then on a credit basis. He wrote many successful grant applications that saw GW High School benefit for more to the tune of more than $1.5 million in grant money and computer equipment, making the school one of the first in the country to put computer science front and center in its curriculum. He, of course, was a star tennis player, state doubles champion in 1949, I believe, runner-up state singles champion, a tennis scholarship student to DU where he played on its championship team. And of course, he was also a star tennis teacher, transforming ball boys and ball girls into stellar players and transforming other teaching pros into Hoffman pros. Whether a player or a coach or a teaching pro, everyone assimilated Irwin's classic forehand and backhand and the strategies, and they wound their way into countless junior players here in Denver. That's what most people know. What most people don't know, perhaps, and it's an amazing thing, is that this master tennis instructor, Irwin Hoffman, never had a tennis lesson in his life. I guess I should modify that slightly. He did have one tennis lesson early on. He was playing tennis with a neighbor, and the father of that neighbor showed him two things: how to keep score and how to stand sideways when hitting the ball. Other than that, he was a total natural, and the rest, of course, is history. I had the pleasure of meeting Irwin when I was here in Denver from 1995 to 2001. I spent more than a couple of Sundays at Green Gables. And while most of the people I hung out with played golf, I never understood what that was, always thinking of golf as the leisure in sports and leisure. I spent my time on the tennis court, and I got to hit with people who have gone on to really make a name for themselves in the tennis community. And I was a bit of a novice at the time, just taking the game seriously. And my strokes probably are not the classic Irwin Hoffman strokes. My strokes reflect, I'm happy to say, the modern game of tennis. And I am extremely happy with the way that I play. I always think of him and many of those that I hit with. And I'm still to this day, because of him, trying to get better. So the fact that he never had any kind of tennis instruction, I think, is amazing. He practically went on, in the eyes of one of his acolytes who I talked to at Denver Tennis, said he practically created the whole notion of junior tennis here in Denver. He refined that, he organized that, and he learned the business of what it means to be a teaching professional. And he taught many of the teaching professionals who had gone on to serve at other still existent clubs today, all of whom will either say, yes, I knew Irwin, yes, he taught me, yes, I played with him, or in the case of the one individual I encountered just yesterday, a local player who's a pretty amazing individual, said, I never really played with anyone in his stable. I never played with him. My tennis game developed with one of the only people I've ever encountered here in town as a native who had nothing to do with his tennis teaching. Everyone at Denver Tennis, everyone at the club knew his name. Some knew him better than others, but everyone recognized what a contribution he had made. And of course, Denver recognized the contribution. The Tennis Hall of Fame inducted him in 2006, and in 2017, the Jewish Community Center inducted him as part of its Sports Hall of Fame, recognizing the amazing contributions not only to the sports world here in Denver, but through his years of counseling and mentoring and just always being there for his students, recognize the impact that he had on their lives. And many of those students will say and will readily admit that Irwin had a tremendous impact on their lives. In a few moments, we're going to hear from members of his family who are here, and a member or two who are going to be remoting in from beautiful Maui in Hawaii. And what I said about the people at Denver Tennis who remember Irwin and who will credit him with impacting their lives, this wonderful blended family, with all of the ups and downs that a blended family will so naturally have, all of them said the exact same thing yesterday at our phone conference. And of course, I'm preaching to the choir because everyone who was there yesterday is practically sitting here. But there are other people, I think, who might be listening elsewhere who may not know this. And I want you to know all of you said the same thing. All of you were willing to credit Irwin with being the most influential and the most impactful guide that you could have. And I know Jackie, who came to Irwin and celebrated 47 years together, brought her family into Irwin's existing family already. Had to navigate some ups and downs there, but if you talk to her, it was like one of the great romances and great love stories of the 20th and 21st century. No question about it. And I know that this loss is very, very, very difficult for Jackie. I do know that. It's difficult for all of Irwin's children, and they were children. We could say stepchildren, but the fact is they were all children. And I also know that from conversation yesterday with Doug and with Sherry, I'll call them his naturally born children, how difficult it is for them as well, how much they loved their father, and they would do anything for him as he would have done anything for them. So I can stand here and tell you many stories, regale you, and I'll just tell you one that came out of the marvelous little pamphlet that Jackie had written about the making of a legend, because it speaks to his sense of Jewishness. Irwin was a very committed Jew. He grew up in a home here in Denver. He had relatives who came from the old country. And had it not been for some tension between old ways and new ways, Irwin might have actually become a rabbi. That's what I was told by a member of the family. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Irwin became a different kind of rabbi. Okay, he became a rabbi, a teacher of math and physics, and a teacher of life lessons, and a teacher of tennis. But he didn't become a rabbi. But his Jewish presence, his Jewish heart never really left him. And while he was serving in the Air Force, when he had gotten in, he was stationed, I believe, in Japan, he was asked to coordinate a Passover Seder for the entire region. And he called his mother, Margaret, waking her up at 3 a.m. to say, I need some Passover recipes and Passover instructions because I'm Captain Hoffman and I'm like the official Jew here in this part of the world, and I need to coordinate all this. And she gave him all the information he needed, including information about 4 cups of wine. Well, somehow 4 cups of wine became 4 bottles of wine, not just for this one Seder, 4 bottles of wine for every participant in the Seder. So those people have Irwin to thank for providing a lot of liquid nourishment, liquid protection, liquid happiness. Each of them walked home with 4 bottles of wine from that Seder. So Irwin knew how to get things done. His greatest accomplishment is probably his family. That was the tennis court that he presided over, and with all the images you might imagine, whether the forehands, the backhands, the double faults, the outs, the winners, the unforced errors, these are part of everyone's life. They were part of his. They were part of all of yours as well. And we're going to hear from members of his family who are going to share just little vignettes, little memories with all of us, so that we can get a more intimate picture to add to the context that I laid out for this wonderful man, this man whose idea of culture revolved largely around Western movies. I didn't understand that. At least we agreed that golf was not worthy of our attention. But he liked Westerns. That was not the answer I was expecting to hear yesterday. But I said, what is he into? Culture? Because he was into beauty and he was into living a good life. And then when they mentioned he liked Westerns, I said, Aye. Okay. But that's perfectly okay. We do have an order in which I'm going to invite people to come. So first we're going to hear from his two natural children, Sherry, and then Doug will be remoting in just a moment.
If my dad were standing here beside me, he would whisper in my ear, "Can you believe how many people are zooming in to see this?" And I would respond, "Yes, Dad, you made the difference in many lives." Dad was always humbled by how many people showed up to his award ceremonies, and there were many. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to honor my father. I'm Sherry Hoffman, his firstborn. I have my father's eyes, I have his big ears, and I have his flat feet. And you can be sure I have his tennis strokes. Jackie always tells me I'm just like my dad, and I take that as a giant compliment. Dad was born in 32 in Independence, Iowa, to Margaret and Morris Hoffman, who held an Orthodox household. My dad's paternal grandfather was a rabbi, and grandma was active in Hadassah, and grandpa taught chemistry and physics at East High. My dad also had two great aunts that lived with him, so he had three mothers. When Doug and I were around 6 years old, Dad put tennis rackets into our hands, and I have thanked Dad many times for giving me the skill of tennis because it has enriched my life beyond measure. Doug and I enjoyed summers spent at Green Gables, although Dad would wake us up early in the morning at 6 a.m., turning on the light, bellowing up and at him. We would go to work with Dad during the summers and pick up tennis balls. Later in life, Dad taught all of us responsibility by finding us if we left the light on, neglected to put gas in the car, or touched the thermometer. If we were also given a chance to earn $1 if we could find a word my father didn't know. Guess what? Even as an adult, even as recently as 2 months ago, I tried. There was never a word my father didn't know, and that is because he studied Latin. Dad taught math, computer science, tennis, and Hebrew school, and tutored, yet he never worked a day in his life. He taught me that if you love what you do, you will never consider it work. Dad achieved many accomplishments during his lifetime and set new paradigms. He was an outlier in the way he taught, and because of that, he won Teacher of the Year in Science and Math from President Reagan and was honored by Nixon for his carpool program. And instead of giving the presentation at the White House himself, he had the student who did the most work on the program present at the White House to President Nixon and the EPA. I asked my dad, why would you do that? Why would you let the student do the presentation? And he said, because he thought it would be a good learning experience for the student. My dad was always about the importance of teaching, giving the student a great learning experience. It was never about him getting credit. He said it's always about the student, not the teacher. And I think Dad set the gold standard in teaching. I think Dad is one of a million and an inspiration to billions. One morning when I was about 10 years old, we were at a restaurant having breakfast, and the waitress gave my dad back too much change. And I said, wow, she's not very smart. And Dad said, Sherry, it's not that she isn't smart, it's that she hasn't been taught. He explained how she could lose her job and not only how that would affect her, but her family as well, and taught her how to count back money. She was very appreciative, and I try whenever possible to follow in his footsteps. Dad always told me that people can learn anything. It is up to the teacher to teach in a way that the student can understand. Dad was inaugurated into the Colorado Tennis Hall of Fame and Jewish Community Hall of Fame. And Dad created numerous tennis players. In fact, when I played varsity tennis for Cherry Creek, more often than not, the #1 singles player was a student of my dad's, both at Creek and on all of the teams that we competed against. If you took tennis lessons from my dad, you not only learned perfect stroke structure, you learned how to spell big words, do math equations, and if you did something wrong, like showing up late to your lesson, you were asked to do push-ups on the court. We spoke about golf earlier. Golf was a 4-letter word, and none of his children played golf. Dad literally would go to the school, or excuse me, go to the pool and the golf course and the lake and take people off and say to them, your parents are spending a lot of money on tennis lessons and you should be practicing. And he would drag them out. I asked my dad, what is your favorite accomplishment? And his eyes lit up as he told me about his victory garden. During the Great Depression, Dad was very proud of his victory garden and loved delivering the fruits of his labor to all of the neighbors. Dad also enjoyed making a faux tennis court on the tarmac. When he was a weatherman in the service, he would wait for the planes to fly off and draw the lines of the tennis court and play. Where there's a will, there's a way. Some people eat to live. My dad lived to eat. While we were eating breakfast, he would be planning lunch and dinner. And about 5 years ago, Dad told me he missed his mother's food and asked if I would make some of her recipes. I said, of course. And he presented me with an old BMH cookbook that had many bookmarks. I asked which one he wanted me to make, and he wanted all of them. He wanted brisket, kreplach, chicken soup, stuffed cabbage, and borscht. I always cook from scratch, so it took a few days. I will never forget Jackie's face when she saw the kitchen. It did look like the Tasmanian devil had come in. It was an honor to take care of my dad. I recently came in for 2 weeks and got his favorite foods from all over Denver and made him whatever he wanted. To watch him eat, appreciating every bite was heartfelt. So next time any of you eat brisket, bread with lots and lots of butter, chocolate cake and ice cream, think of Dad. During that visit to see Dad, he hadn't been out of the house for 4 months, partly because of COVID and partly because of his declining health. One morning when I arrived, Dad declared he was going to watch Carrie and I play tennis. I was so excited, I drove back to my girlfriend's house, told Carrie to get on his tennis clothes, and drove back 80 miles an hour to get Dad. I don't think my dad had seen me play tennis with massive topspin. My dad was so excited and was exuberant, saying how happy he was with all my strokes. Told Carrie what a great job he did with me and how proud he was to have a tennis tournament daughter. And I think that is one of my happiest moments. How lucky I am to have had my dad in my life for 60 years. I wish it could have been forever. And I know the loss of my father is widely shared. The wisdom that my dad gave me is embedded in my soul. The way he treated all people with respect, honesty, and kindness are traits of his and mine that I hold dear. Dad's legacy will live on through all of the hearts that he has touched, and there are many. When you look up at the sky, Dad is the brightest star. He will be moving the stars in geometric shapes, letting us know he wants us all to reach our highest potential. I love you, Dad.
Now we're going to hear from Doug, who's, I think, remoting in over there. There he is.
Okay, aloha. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Thumbs up. Hello, hello. Aloha. You can hear me? Because I can't tell. Let me know if you can hear me. Someone wave if you can hear me. No one is waving. Can't hear me? Can't hear me? Hello? Okay. Here we go. Aloha, everyone. Thank you for celebrating my dad's life. It's a hard time for everybody. I have a couple things to say. I have incredible memories, of course, of my father. Here's a couple of my favorite. When I brought my kids to Denver and they did math with my father, and he taught Hana math, it was just incredible to see how my daughter learned the math, to see the smile on my dad's face as he taught the math. Just everything coming full circle, and I'll cherish that forever. Another is Aya, whose nickname now is Rin, made a beautiful drawing for my for my father. And every day, he loved that picture. He would always talk about that picture she drew. And those are just really endearing to me. When we were talking yesterday as a family, a couple things were very, very clear to me. And one of them changed the course of what I'm about to tell you and share with you, because my dad, our father, wanted to be a cowboy. And when we talked about that yesterday, it really affected me. And I remember my sister wrote a poem. It goes like this: Ode to my father. Cowboys have always been your heroes. John Wayne, Gary Cooper, and Jim Bannon, just to name a few. My cowboy, my hero dad, has always been you. Integrity, intelligence, strength, charisma, and charm make you, Dad, a very great man. You always see the best in people and try your hardest to be more than fair. Through right action, courage under duress, calm under pressure, you've got finesse. Backhands, forehands, volleys, and serves, algebra, geometry, and calculus too. Doesn't rhyme, but it's good. Successive generations have been influenced by you. You worked hard and accomplished all you set out to do. Always establishing paradigms for others. That's you. That is why you took me with you to learn Fortran at 2. When you see injustice, you pave the way. You don't let anyone stand in your way. Always taking the high road when others are wrong. You taught me it wasn't worth getting mad. Just move on. You taught me to respect all people, rich and poor, black and white, young and old, to help when needed, always be bold. I know aging isn't so easy, but you have been so strong. Overcoming obstacles doesn't take you long. A man of strong character, always liked and respected. A man I call my father. And I'm happy to say I cherish our father-daughter relationship in every way. Son too. And I'm so lucky to say, Dad, you are the real cowboy. And your legacy will live on. Aloha. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ichiban. Ichiban means the oldest in Japanese. That's the nickname that Papa gave me. Irwin called me that because I'm the oldest of the 5. I met Irwin when I was 15, and as you can imagine, that's sort of a tough age. I wasn't used to having a father figure in my life. And as most of you know, Irwin was he was a disciplinarian and he was very strict. But he did have a very interesting, loving, creative way to discipline. He was never really mean, but he could be tough. At that age, I was more interested in, well, boys, partying, having fun than I was school or my career. We used to be able to go to Green Gables, as Sherry said. He would get us up at 0.100. We could go to the pancake house and have $1 breakfast. Then he would take us there. So he told me we were going to go there one day. The next morning, we got up, but he didn't take me to Green Gables. Irwin took me to 5 Points. And we're talking about back in the day. I mean, it was worse than the ghetto. I was crying, and he said to me, Kim, this is where I'm going to come visit you if you keep on the path that you're going now. And I said to him, why do you even care? You're not my father, which I said to him a lot. I said, you don't have any right to talk to me like this or to say this to me. And I'm telling Mom. And he said to me, Kim, you are my daughter. You're my oldest child. And I want what's best for you. And when I married your mom, I promised you and her and the 3 kids that you would be my kids also and that I would take care of you. I think that was a turning point in not only my relationship with Irwin, but in my life. It took me a few weeks to assimilate all that. And of course, I ran home and told Mom, and he got in trouble for taking me there. But I came home and I announced that I was going to be a dental hygienist. And, you know, that was like saying I was going to be a brain surgeon. I mean, I went from a 1.5 GPA with really bad ACT scores. My only saving grace is I did halfway decent on the dental hygiene aptitude test, which got me an interview to a small school in Rangeley, Colorado. I had the interview and there were 5 people sitting there and they said, why should we take a chance on you? There's so many other people more deserving that have worked harder, that have gotten better grades, that did better on their ACTs. And I said, well, if you don't take a chance on me, then who will? And they said, well, you know, we got a letter from your father. And I don't think any of us have ever read a more poignant, beautiful reference letter. And I'm sure many of you watching, many of you in here have received Irwin's reference letters. And most of you have gotten into the college of your choice because of that. I said to them, look what I've done in a year. So I hope that you'll take a chance on me. And they said, well, even if we don't, what your dad said means everything. So, needless to say, I was accepted. And I became one of the top 10 dental hygienists in 1 year in the state of Colorado. So when Irwin and I were reminiscing about this story, he told me that I was his greatest success story and how proud he was of me. Irwin was the best man that I've ever known. He was the only person that I knew that was 100% Ashkenazi Jew. And he told me he had no regrets. And I think that's admirable. So yes, Irwin, you are my father in every sense of the word. I don't know how I would have made it through this life without you. This is just between me and Irwin, so you guys might not understand. But Brooke Adatai Adanai Alahenio, Manahora Kanahora, Oive. You've got a lot of chutzpah, and I love you, Papa. Thanks for making me the mensch that I am today. Thanks for giving me a family. Thanks for giving me such a great life. Thanks for saving my mom and my sister and my brother, because we wouldn't be who we are today without you, Papa. And thanks for giving me a stepbrother and a stepsister. It was a great run, and we had a lot of fun. And I promise, Irwin, that I will always continue to make you proud. I will miss you every day of my life. And I'm so grateful that I was able to take care of you the last year, because you took care of me my whole life. I will always persevere.
Kelly.
Wow, I get to follow that. I don't know what to say. Woo! Everyone's done such a great job. So now it's my turn. I'm Kelly. I'm the middle one. Oh, I don't need a mask. Yay. So yeah, I'm the middle daughter. Who is Irwin Hoffman to me? I was asked to write a 3-minute who's Irwin to me. So that's what I'm doing. He was a father, a mentor, a role model, a teacher, a friend, and most importantly, a mensch. Irwin loved me calling him a mensch, which for those of you who don't know what it means, it means a person of integrity. And Irwin was that. And when Irwin came into my life at the age of 14, he married my mother, who had 3 kids, as you've all heard. Wow. How many men would do that? Right. And we were all mostly teenagers, but he loved kids and he was so happy to take on this huge responsibility. Yeah, he was happy. He's a mensch. Okay. So I'm gonna get it together. I'm so glad they got married. I was floundering at the game of life when they got married. And with Irwin's guidance and inspiration and his tutoring, he allowed me to obtain my full potential. This was a pivotal moment in my life. And everyone has a pivot in their life. And Irwin was my pivot. And talk to you, Sydney, about pivots. You know, they're really important. So Irwin had a profound impact on my life, and I would not be the person I am today without his guidance and love. And my children would not be the 2 women they are today without his influence. Isn't that what everyone hopes to accomplish in life? To be a mentor, to truly leave a mark in life, to change someone's life, to be a mensch. It was a privilege to be his daughter. My fondest memory of Irwin is sitting at the dining room table and discussing religion. I had just read the book, The Source, which he had told me to read. I don't know if any of you have read that, Missioner's book. It's about the history of religion. And I had a lot of questions to ask. And Irwin was a learned man, and he explained to me in terms I could understand Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, and all the other religions in the book, The Source. And during this time, I decided to adopt the Jewish faith. He taught me Hebrew, some Hebrew, and I decided to convert. I have so many other great memories too many to discuss. But another memory that stands out was his tutoring me after school. He was able to explain math in a way that made it interesting, and a way he could apply geometry and algebra to everyday experiences. You know, like learning algebra will help me balance my checkbook and so on and so forth. And it made me want to learn. So his ability to teach was simply amazing. It's no wonder he won the Presidential Award for teaching. His greatest joy was teaching math and tennis, and boy, was he good. I started playing tennis at 14 and loved going to Green Gables with him. I was in awe of Irwin Hoffman. I was inspired by Irwin Hoffman. I am the person I am today because of Irwin Hoffman. Irwin was an accomplished man, and he truly loved both his jobs. How many people can say that they truly loved working? Not many. I am so proud to have known him and to be an active participant in his life. I will miss you, sweet Irwin. May your journey after life be as amazing as your journey was here on earth. Rest in peace, knowing that you left a huge footprint on this earth. You inspired many, many people, and you will be remembered. I love you.
And now Brad.
Oh, God, this is hard, guys. So, there's nothing I can say, nothing that can kind of explain what he meant to everybody, not just us, right? But everybody. He's impacted so many people that we've all met and known. It's amazing. So I'll just try and get a couple of stories out about him so you get a little better idea of what he was like. First and foremost, he had a really clever sense of humor, very wry and dry sense of humor. And one of the memories I'll always remember is we're at his 85th birthday, I believe it was. We're sitting there. I give him a little shit, and he has this wry smile, like he's proud of me, right? He just gave you, and then he goes, and he flips me off. And I'll always remember, like, you know, you don't get a glimpse at your dad when he's a person, right? And that's seeing Irwin as who he was. He was funny. He's a funny guy. You know, the thing that he's left a legacy, right? He's left a legacy for me, for my kids. And this is when it started, right? I'm in 8th grade or 7th grade. I'm flunking out of math. And the teachers let him know that they're just going to put me down in an easier math class because I can't handle it, right? And everyone's like, absolutely not. What did he teach us more than anything? Like, what you do today has a huge impact on your future. You can't accept that because it will destroy your future. So he wouldn't accept it. He made me not accept it. I went into stayed in that math class. He tutored me. He got me through that class. Guess what degree I frickin' got in college? I have a math degree in college because of Irwin. If I could have done that, the only reason it did happen is because of Irwin. There's no way it would have happened without him. Everything I am is because of him. And he taught me to be a teacher. And I've taught my daughter and my son, and we coach lacrosse, and I coach my son in football. We won 4 state championships together because of Irwin. The little pebble in the water that was Irwin in my life became this tidal wave to Sydney and Chase. And who knows what it'll be for your kids, right? He's a great man. And so I hope you're sitting up there, Pops. You're at peace. You fought so bravely and so hard these past 4 years to stay alive and stay with us. And then we're grateful for every minute you have with us. But I hope you're up there in peace and you have that wry smile and you're flipping me off right now one last time. Love you, Pops.
Well, as you guys know, my mom and Irwin had quite the love story. He was Jewish, she was not. And as we've all told you, he took on 3 teenagers. And that was tough. Well, Brad wasn't a teenager, but close enough. So my mom worshiped Irwin. She was his greatest fan. And she loved him more than anybody in this world, I think. So she wrote a poem to him that she'd like me to read to you today. To my beloved husband, I will always remember the love that we share. How in the world did we ever dare? I see you as an extraordinary man, and I will always be your biggest fan. You've captivated me with your gallantry, your mind, your power, and your energy. A gentle touch, a soft caress leaves me lightheaded, I must confess. Together we are a symphony, most in perfect harmony. Our journey has taken a brave new phase, but we will live valiantly for all our yesterdays. Our moments of intimacy will linger in our heart, for we have a love to remember whenever we part.
Please give your attention to the screen. There's a brief video that is going to be shown for all of us. Jim, I think there's music that's supposed to be playing.
as an easy chair. Love fresh as the morning air. One love that is shared by two. I have found with you, like a rose under the April snow. I was always certain love would grow. Love, ageless and evergreen, seldom seen by two. You and I will make each night a first, every day a beginning. Spirits rise and their dance is unrehearsed. They warm and excite us, 'cause we have the brightest love. Two lights that shine as one. Morning glory and midnight sun. Time we've learned to sail above. Time won't change the meaning of one love, ageless and ever. Love soft as an easy chair. Love fresh as the morning air. One love that is shared by two. I have found with you, like a rose under the April snow. I was always certain love would grow. Love, ageless and evergreen, seldom seen by two. You and I will make each night a first, every day a beginning. Spirits rise and their dance is unrehearsed. They warm ageless and ever. Love soft as an easy chair. Love fresh as the morning air. One love that is shared by two. I have found with you.
I just want everyone to know that I had the honor of showing this video to Irwin before he died. And he and my mom watched it, and Irwin watched it for about 3 hours, over and over and over again, approved every photo, loved it, and he was so happy to have seen it. Yeah.
I don't think anything more really needs to be said, although much more could be said. But in our tradition, the highest title, the highest descriptor you can give to anyone is to call them your teacher. And in Jewish tradition, whenever we remember a father, we always say, my father, my teacher. And I think, as I said earlier, everyone on the phone last night and everyone today certainly lived up to saying that, not because they had to, but it was a natural outgrowth of their relationship with Irwin. He was through and through a teacher and a lover and a team member and any other descriptor you want to add to that. But certainly he was a teacher. Avi Mori, he was our father and our teacher. I ask you to rise at this time for a memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzei Mincha Nechona, Tachat Kanefei HaShechina, B'mahalot Kedoshim Tehorim, Kezohar Harakia Masirim, Et Nishemat Yitzchak Yaakov Ben Moshe v'Miro she'alach li'olamo B'gan Eden etei menuchato Lachein ba'al rachamim Astirehu b'seteg nefecha li'olamim V'yitzaror b'tzorach chayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Irwin Jacob Hoffman, Yitzchak Yaakov, the son of Moshe and Miro, who has gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you to remember all the worthy and righteous deeds he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be ever bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is certainly his portion. May he ever rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. Please be seated. In a few moments, you'll hear instructions as to how to proceed to Irwin's interment, which is going to be at the Mount Nebo Cemetery. Tonight, there's going to be a memorial gathering on Zoom. It's going to be hosted by Sherry Hoffman at the home of her good friend, Lori. And I don't know Lori's last name. She's right there. What? Lori Gibson. And the address of that is not really important to anyone, although if you need it, you can have it. But there is a Zoom address that everyone should know about. And you can find that, I think, on the Feldman's website. For those who are listening, go there. You'll see the ID number. You'll see the password. And it's being hosted. And there'll be some commentary by Rabbi Jordan Hoffman, known to me as Yair Hoffman, actually a well-known writer in Jewish circles and a well-known teacher as well. And you can also call Sherry if you're having any difficulty locating that. That's going to be this evening, I believe, from 6:30 to 8:30 tonight. Anytime you want to log in at that time. Please give your attention to Jim Cohen, and thank you all for being so patient and for being here today.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our service here. We'll just need a few minutes to get the guests to the back of the room, give you an opportunity to use the restroom, grab a drink, and then we'll head on out to the cars. And then we'll all follow. We're not in procession. The limousines know that, but they also know how to get there. So those who have been asked to be pallbearers, we'll ask you to meet us to the back of the room in just a minute. Thank you very much.